Okay, good evening everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. This is our last shiur of the cycle of Chamisha Chumshei Torah. Bez Hashem, next time we meet here, it will be not even Bereshis, it will be Parshas Noach. The Shiurim of Sefer Devarim and Chamisha Chumshei Torah were generously sponsored by Dr. Zakheim and Mishpachta Leonishmas, Rav Shalom Eliezer ben Rav Yaakov Zakheim, Nishmas Dr. Zakheim's mother, Rivka Bas Tzvi Halevi, and Rav David ben Rav Yaakov Tzvi HaKohen, B'Gan Eden Tehei Menuchasam. They should be Melitza Yisham for their whole family, for Simchas Anachas, Ad Bias Goyal, and for a Gemara Chesima Tova. Tonight's year, sponsored by my dear friend Eretz Yisrael, Rabbi Yaakov Mizrahi. Hashem should bless him. Shefa Bracha V'Hatzlacha, Ad Bias Goyal Tzedek, for Gemara Chesima Tova, and the Ryabinsky and Ruzhin family, in honor of the Shiur, and in honor of Tarasenu HaKadoshah. We have very good news. We have very good news. They have there. The new Sefer on Chinuch Habanim has arrived from the land of Israel. Actually, it was on the first flight that came after the airports were closed, after Israel was attacked. So it was being held up in security because they were afraid, with the first thing that came out of Israel otherwise it would have been here earlier. So it's now available, and if anybody is interested, we're working on, it should be in the stores, and we're working on Beyond. Okay. You have to purchase it to find out who wrote it. Okay. Okay, we're headed toward Shabbos, but not just a regular Shabbos. Shabbos Yom Kippurim, the holiest day of the year, Yom Kippur. But this year Yom Kippur coincides and fuses together with the other holiest day of the year, and that is Shabbos Kodesh. And I already gave you a pretty big clue, but let's begin with the Gemara in Shabbos, Kuf Yud Chesam and Beis. It should be by now somewhat of a rhetorical question. Amar Rav Yochanan Mishum Rashbi, Rav Shimon Yochai. El Mole Mishamrin Yisrael Shtei Shabbosos Kehilchasan Miyad Negolim. If the Jewish people would observe 2 Shabbosos properly, they would be redeemed immediately. Shenemar Koyamar Hashem, so says God, Lasorisim, Asher Yishmru Es Shabbosos, to the officers who keep my Shabbosos, plural. And what does it say afterwards? V'havi el har kachi, and I will bring you to my holy mountain. That if the Jewish people would observe 2 Shabbosos, they would be redeemed immediately. And the question that is raised in the Holy Sefer, Nayam Megadim, of Rabbi Lezer Halevi Horowitz, is, come on, surely sometime in our history we kept 2 Shabbosos. I mean, what else do we do on Shabbos? I mean, we keep the Shabbos. We all keep Shabbos. I don't know about nowadays, but back in the day, certainly, all Jews kept Shabbos. There's got to be a time in history where the Jews kept Shabbos, and yet the Mashiach has not come, the Gula has not come. What exactly is holding it up? What does the Gemara mean? If only the Jewish people would observe 2 Shabbosos, kahalacha, they would be redeemed immediately. What's the meaning of that? So let's begin with an amazing shaila. This shaila is brought in the Sefer Sifsei Tzaddik of the brother-in-law of the Sfas Emes, and the Sifsei Tzaddik raised a very interesting question about Yom Kippur that falls out on Shabbos. After all, we know there's a great dilemma, because contrary to what many people think, you need to eat 3 meals on Shabbos. You have to wash, and you have to bench 3 times every Shabbos, not 2 times. Not 2 times in mezainos, not 2 times in Divrei Torah, 3 times. What if you eat mezainos and you could have washed? Contrary to what many people think, you're not yotzei shal hashudas. You must wash and bench 3 times. It will save you from Gehenna. It will save you from the Yom Adin Hagadol, and it will save you from Chavei Mashiach. I guarantee you, you don't want to be on any line where they're going to be analyzing. He only ate mezainos. Should we let him through that? You want to be clear. On all those 3 things, you want to be clear. The Shulchan Aruch writes clearly that we paskin.
I don't even know the third one. From where?
What?
How do we know that you have to have the third Suda?
Because the Gemara says, Shulchan Aruch says, the Halacha says.
So where did they get it from?
Hayom, it says Hayom 3 times.
It says 3 times.
Yeah. So, you got to eat 3 meals. The problem is on Yom Kippur, you're not allowed to eat.
All right.
So what do you do when Shabbos and Yom Kippur go inside? So, we all know we're not going to be eating the Shabbos. So the brother-in-law of the Sfas Emes had a great idea. Why don't you just make an early Shabbos? Make an early Shabbos and come home after Plaga Mincha, make Kiddush, have a huge meal, eat Dairaisa, the Suda Dairaisa, be Mekabel Yom Kippur 15 minutes early, and you got everything. You know, you could have your cake and eat it. In other words, what's the question? I don't know what to do. I have to fast. I have to eat. So great. Do what you do every week. Make an early Shabbos and don't accept Yom Kippur. So you'll have Suda Shabbos, at least one Suda. At least you'll do Kiddush Dairaisa. Friday night Kiddush is Dairaisa. You'll make Kiddush. You'll have the first Suda. And then you'll be good to go for the rest of the 24 hours. Why don't we do that Eitzah? Make an early Shabbos from Plaga Mincha, have Suda Shabbos, make Kiddush, and then be Mekabel Yom Kippur. Said the Sfas Emes, really? You want to have Suda Shabbos? Bizman Toisefes Shabbos? For which Suda are you trying to eat? I'm trying to eat the Friday night meal, but I'm not chayiv in the Friday night meal. The Friday night meal is really chav fundamentally on Yom Kippur. So that meal I'm not obligated in. So there's no inyan to have a Suda Friday night if the fundamental meal I'm not obligated in the first place. So since the Iker Suda, which is ideally done after Tzeitzak HaChavim, you're not obligated in to eat another Suda or to eat a Suda in place, a Tashlumin, before Shabbos has no meaning. As opposed to if you're chayiv in the Iker Suda and you want to make an early Shabbos, you can make an early Shabbos. Okay? So that's the suggestion, that's the answer of the Sfas Emes. That it would be meaningless to make an early Shabbos because what are you doing? You're having a Suda for which obligation? The obligation of Shabbos. If you're not chayiv in the Suda on Shabbos proper, you're definitely not going to be chayiv to make it up before Shabbos.
There's a mitzvah to eat Erev Yom Kippur. Have meals on Erev Yom Kippur.
Yeah, but the question... Yeah, we know it's a mitzvah. That's one of the mitzvahs that everybody knows about.
Is it?
That's
everybody knows about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that most people have that one down.
That
you know?
It's a mitzvah.
Yeah. Now, the question is,
could include that for Shabbos.
that's not Shabbos. The question was make an early Shabbos. The answer is, but that won't accomplish anything because you're eating a meal for a zman that you're not chayiv for in the first place. Now the interesting question is, let's say somebody is a chayla. Somebody, the doctors say they have to eat, otherwise their life is in danger. Somebody who gave birth within seven days. You know, the week of Yom Kippur, more babies are born in Israel than any other time of the year. Either right before, on, or right after. That's the magic of Yom Kippur, that it's like a bumper crop, the week of Yom Kippur. So somebody is ill, somebody gave birth within 7 days of Yom Kippur, and they ate enough to bench. Do they say Ya'alav Yavai? Elokeinu v'Elokei Avoseinu. And they say, Ya'alav Yavai v'Yagia v'Yerav b'Yahaim HaKippurim Hazeh in Birchas Hamazon. Do they say Ya'alav Yavai? Says the Shulchan Aruch. Sure, they say Ya'alav Yavai. They say Ya'alav Yavai in Bnei Yerushalayim. What about Lechem Mishnah? Yeah, if they're going to eat. So the Magen Avram brings, they should have Lechem Mishnah. What? 1 second. They should have Lechem Mishnah. They have to eat, so they have Lechem Mishnah. Says the Magen Avram, I hold they don't have to have Lechem Mishnah. They never were Mesakein Lechem Mishnah on Yom HaKippurim. And certainly, somebody who is gravely ill does not have to have Lechem Mishnah. And do they have to make Kiddush? Someone who's going to eat on Yom Kippur, they have to make Kiddush, says the Magen Avram, they don't have to make Kiddush. And in the Shibalei HaLeked, he brings in the name of Rav Avigdor Katz that it would be ridiculous to make Kiddush. Why? Because most people are not allowed to eat. So this guy has to eat. Oh, so if this guy has to eat, then for him it's not Yom Kippur, it's like a regular Tuesday, so it would be meaningless to make Kiddush. Mima nafshach. Regular people are not eating, so they don't make Kiddush. Elamai, this guy needs to eat, but for this guy who's eating, it doesn't have a din of Yom Kippur for him. It's like a regular weekday for him. It's like a Yom Chol for him, and therefore he would not make Kiddush. and he doesn't make kiddush, he doesn't have a kais, and I say he shouldn't even say yalav yavai, because we don't find any haskara in Berachas Hamazon, only if it's a mitzvah to eat. And says the Magen Avraham, I agree, even on Chanukah and Purim, you don't really have to say anything about Hamazon. However, the Torah says you should say yalav yavai, so say yalav yavai. But to make kiddush, there is no kiddush on Yom HaKippurim. That's the psak of the Magen Avraham. Okay? There's no kiddush. The same thing for a katan.
You're talking about when Yom Kippur is...
L'chayra for a katan, I'm talking about a regular Yom Kippur. L'chayra for a katan, it's pasha that he wouldn't make kiddush. Why? Because what's the reason a katan should do mitzvahs? To train him that when he gets older, he is accustomed. But when he gets older, he's going to be fasting. So there's a stronger reason that a katan would not make kiddush on Yom Kippur. Okay? Comes Rabbi Akiva Eiger. And Rabbi Akiva Eiger says that the Magen Avram's svara not to make kiddush on Yom Kippur applies on a regular Yom Kippur. But what if Yom Kippur comes out on Shabbos? So even though out Yom Kippur, there's no reason to make kiddush, because if you're fasting, of course you don't make kiddush. And if you're not fasting, then it's a regular Tuesday. But what if it's Shabbos? So I won't make kiddush out the fact that it's Yom Kippur. But shouldn't I make kiddush because it's Shabbos? Now if I'm eating, I can't make kiddush. I'm sorry, if I'm fasting, I can't make kiddush. But if I'm eating, then even though for the cause of Yom Kippur I'm not going to make kiddush, but for the cause of Shabbos I should make kiddush. That's the argument of Rabbi Akiva Eiger. Says Rabbi Akiva Eiger something very interesting. Is kiddush b'makom suda d'oraisa or d'rabanan? The din that you have to make kiddush at the meal. We know you have to declare that it's Shabbos. Do I need to do it at the meal or do I not need to do it at the meal? If kiddush b'makom suda is only d'rabanan, but midoraisa am yotzei not at the meal, so then we tell this guy, look, pal, you're davening Marav. And when you daven Marav, you're saying it's Shabbos. Now, you would never be yotzei kiddush if you didn't have kavanah. Everybody heard the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha. If you didn't hear the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha, forget this share. Leave now and listen to the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha. By the way, I forgot. Right now, before we start the share, we have kavanah to mekayim the mitzvah of Talmud Torah. But you have yotzei in the middle, right? You heard that part, yeah? Okay, it's a good thing we remember afterwards Terkadei Dibur. Then the whole thing is. But so says Rabbi Akiva Eiger, if kiddush b'makom suda is a din d'rabanan, that means I'm yotzei midaraisa and mariv, provided I had kavanah. So now the only thing I need to do is midrabanan, say it over the meal. Then you could argue the rabbis never made kiddush for Yom Kippur, period. If it's only midrabanan to say it at the meal, the rabbis didn't make kiddush on Yom Kippur because 99% of the people are not eating. But if kiddush b'makom suda is d'oraisa, so nobody else can make kiddush because they're not eating. But this guy is eating, says Rabbi Akiva Eiger, he's required to make kiddush on Shabbos Yom Kippur. You hear the argument? Rabbi Akiva Eiger holds the din of the Magen Avraham that you don't make kiddush on Yom Kippur because if you're eating, then it's a Tuesday. That's if it's a regular Yom Kippur. If it's Yom Kippur that comes out on Shabbos, so you're not going to make kiddush for the Yom Kippur, but for the Shabbos you should make if kiddush makom suda is a chiyuv d'oraisa. And that's the psak of Rabbi Akiva Eiger.
Does the Magen Avraham agree with that?
We don't know. He didn't tell us. Magen Avraham is talking about a regular. Even though presumably we're going to see the fact that the Magen Avraham did not qualify and say that's only a regular weekday, but not Shabbos. The Mishnah Berurah understands that the Magen Avraham disagrees with Rabbi Akiva Eiger.
So it would be a regular Shabbos kiddush, nothing to do with Yom Kippur. You do it for Shabbos, not saying Yom Kippur. Like a typical Yom Kippur falls out. You do
Correct. Now, once you're at it, I mean, what would you say?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's only for a Shabbos, then it would just be...
L'chayra, according to Rabbi Akiva Eiger, it would be a Shabbos Kiddush. Good point. It would be a Shabbos Kiddush.
Is this far to say don't make Kiddush because Yom Kippur is the only time that doesn't get pushed off if it's in Shabbos?
Yeah, but this guy's eating. And what, there's no mitzvah of d'oraisa of Kiddush? Who removed it? Who surgically removed the asay d'oraisa of sanctifying the seventh day? all Yom Kippur says is you can't eat, but you still need to make Kiddush. So we sort of do make Kiddush. We'll mention a Shabbos, and l'chayra be mechavein, even if your mitzvahs don't need kavana, but for sure for this you're going to need kavana. When you say Marev Friday night, l'chayra you should have kavana to be yotzei the mitzvah of Kiddush. What? Women should daven Friday night, like they always do. And l'chayra, yeah, okay. That's the opinion of Rabbi Kiveger. Rabbi Kiveger holds Shabbos, Yom Kippur, if you're going to eat, you make Kiddush. Isn't that incredible? Did you ever hear of such a thing? Shabbos, Yom Kippur, you make Kiddush. Comes the Mishnah Berurah. And the Mishnah Berurah says, the Mechaber says, you say Yalav Yavai, since you're allowed to eat. And if it's Shabbos and you're benching, you also say Ritzei. Some are lenient. They say you don't have to say Yalav Yavai, and you don't have to say Ritzei. But Kiddush, says the Mishnah Berurah, for sure you don't make Kiddush on Yom Kippur, even if it's Shabbos. Why? Yesh chash bracha levatala. Rabbi Kiveger says you make Kiddush. Not everybody agrees with it, Rabbi Kiveger. Who disagrees? Look in the Sha'asiyah and the Magen Avram. I mean, the Mishnah Berurah learns the fact that the Magen Avram said, don't make Kiddush, that implies you never make Kiddush. And also the Matei Ephraim says you don't make Kiddush. And also the Shulchan Aruch Harav says you don't make Kiddush. And also the Chayei Adam. So you only make Kiddush, it's a Safek Bracha Levatala. Even though, by the way, you could argue, what do you mean Safek Bracha Levatala? Kiddush is Daraisa. Yeah, but I could be Yotzi it ala Tefillah. Okay? So the Mishnah Berurah says you don't make Kiddush.
On a regular Shabbos, on
a regular Shabbos, we make Kiddush.
Yes, but if you're machaven by davening to be Yotze Kiddush,
then when you get home,
you can't make Kiddush.
No, you could, but it's only midrabanan. But the big question is, the problem is, your wife didn't daven necessarily. You davened.
Right.
So you're chayiv in Kiddush only midrabanan.
Right.
She's chayiv in daraisa.
Is she?
Yeah.
Kiddush?
Yeah.
So mitzvah say Shazam Maggid?
Yeah, but is she allowed to drive a car on Shabbos? So she can't violate negative.
That's a license.
And Zach v'Shamar b'dibur echad amru. So the shaila that Rabbi Vadia deals with, Rabbi Yehuda deals with, Chassam Sofer deals with, is how could you be motzei her in Kiddush? You're only chayiv midrabanan, she's chayiv midaraisa. So Rabbi Vadia says the trick is like this: say, Rebbetzin, good Shabbos. She says, good Shabbos. She's yotzei midaraisa. Now she's only chayiv midrabanan. That doesn't work so well if you hold mitzvah tzrichas kavana. But she heard the Shabbos Shuvah Drasha. So she knows that when she says good Shabbos, she's yotzei midaraisa. You tell her, say good Shabbos. Okay. Now, let's analyze Rabbi Kiveger for a moment. Rabbi Kiveger holds that on Shabbos Yom Kippur, even though Yom Kippur does not require a Kiddush, Shabbos requires a Kiddush. Wait a second. So that means Rabbi Kiveger looks at this coming Shabbos and he sees two distinct elements of the coming Shabbos. He sees Kedushas Yom Kippur and Kedushas Shabbos. Kedushas Yom Kippur does not require Kiddush. Kedushas Shabbos requires Kiddush. But perhaps you could argue there's another way of looking at this. That when we're headed toward this coming Shabbos, there are not two distinct Kedushas, but maybe a new element, a new entity is being created, something called Shabbos Shabbosain, and that's what we're going to explore. Let me share with you the lamdas of the Ar Sameach that most Achronim agree to, the Mishnah Berurah seems to agree to, and let me ask you the following question. Anyone here a Kohen Gadol? Anyone here a regular Kohen? Anyone here Jewish? No, yeah, okay. A Kohen Gadol. What avodah does he do? Does he walk into the Beis HaMikdash and bring the carbon tamid every day? He can, but that's not his obligation. He brings the minchas chavit and he doesn't do the regular avodah. On Shabbos, does he bring all the karbanos? No. What about the carbon musaf of Shabbos? Does a Kohen Gadol do that? No, any Kohen could do that. What about the avodah of Yom Kippur? Does a Kohen Gadol do that? Yeah. What about Shabbos Yom Kippur? Does he bring the musaf of Shabbos? He does. But that's not his carbon. The carbon musaf of Shabbos belongs to a regular kohen. Only the avodah of Yom Kippur belongs to the kohen. Why? to the Kohen Gadol. Why does the Kohen Gadol bring the carbon musaf of Shabbos on Yom Kippur? I understand he does all the avodah of Yom Kippur, but why would he bring a carbon that if it would be a regular Shabbos he wouldn't do? So now that it's Yom Kippur, I understand he should do the avodah of Yom Kippur. Why the carbon musaf of Shabbos? Says the Ar Sameach. From here we learn that when Shabbos comes out on Yom Kippur, Yom Kippur influences Shabbos. It's not a regular Shabbos. It's a Yom Kippur Dika Shabbos. This Shabbos is not Shabbos. It's not a regular Shabbos. It's, I don't know which sheets you took, because I had to do it over a shtickle. I made a second edition. Let me see. It's Yom Kippur Dika Shabbos. It's not a regular Shabbos. And therefore, not only does the Kohen Gadol do the avodah of Yom Kippur, he also does the avodah of Shabbos. In other words, if you were to look at the Shabbos, okay, Yom Kippur Shabbos, would you say, the way Rabbi Kiveger looks at it is, Shabbos says you need to eat, Yom Kippur says you can't eat, and Yom Kippur wins. So Yom Kippur is vying for us not to eat, Shabbos is vying for us to eat, Shabbos is saying make Kiddush, Yom Kippur is saying don't make Kiddush, so we follow Yom Kippur, but the guy who needs to eat for refuah, he's, so to speak, he's listening to Shabbos, so let him make Kiddush. Says Ar Sameach, no, that's not how it works. There's a hybrid. There's a meziga. There's a mix. It's not Shabbos and Yom Kippur. Kedushas Yom Kippur is chal on Shabbos. And it's makdish, the day that on this day we're shavas min ho'achila. The Kedushas Yom HaKippurim gam l'Shabbos ahani. This day is sanctified not to eat. So if Yom Kippur comes out on Shabbos and you have a holiest sakon who has to eat, of course he doesn't make Kiddush. Even Shabbos doesn't say he should make Kiddush. On this Shabbos, this is a Yom Kippur Dika Shabbos. And a Yom Kippur Dika Shabbos does not require Kiddush. There's no obligation of Kiddush on the Shabbos. So let's try to explain this hybrid. Now, Rabbi Kiveger didn't understand it that way. Rabbi Kiveger learned there are two distinct streams of Kedusha. They do not mingle, they do not combine, they're not fused, and we follow Yom Kippur, and if somebody needs to eat, then he could make Kiddush because Shabbos dictates that he should make Kiddush. However, the Ar Sameach learns that there's some kind of combined effort between Kedusha. In other words, this Shabbos is not like Shabbos, and it's not like Yom Kippur. It's like Yom Kippur is flavoring the Shabbos. So I want to share with you an idea.
What do we pass on?
Well, certainly the Mishnah Berurah is choishesh for the opinion of the Ar Sameach, and the Mishnah Berurah feels that most Achronim hold that way, that we're literally treat this Shabbos as a hybrid of Kedusha. It's Kedushas Shabbos Shel Yom HaKippurim. But let me explain, because how do these things combine? You know, if you have a beer and a basketball, and you put them in a box, you're not going to have a basketball dicka beer or a beer dicka basketball. You know, they're just the two things together. There's no way. So what is this combination? Is there any way to explain the fusion of Shabbos? Now, have we ever had this concept before? We have. We once spoke about Shabbos Rosh Chodesh, the Yom Tif of Shabbos Rosh Chodesh. But now we're talking about Shabbos Yom HaKippurim.
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking from experience, okay, so we had a bris on Shabbos Yom Kippur.
Mazel Tov. I don't think I wish you Mazel Tov. Belated Mazel Tov.
So what? How? I mean.
I wasn't invited, but we'll take that up after.
And yet
Yeah.
the bris overrode Yom Kippur and overrode Shabbos. Right?
Well, did it? You're allowed to do a bris on Shabbos, and Malacha of Shabbos is more chomer than Yom Kippur. So, but not really. You couldn't eat. You didn't eat at the bris.
No, we didn't.
So it didn't really override. The Torah says you do a bris on Shabbos, and therefore you certainly do it on Yom Kippur. Let's try to explain, how does Yom Kippur and Shabbos combine? What is this combination? Because doesn't Shabbos say you need to eat, and Yom Kippur says you can eat? So how do you combine those two things? If I were to ask you, just quickly, okay, give me an off-the-cuff answer. Why don't we eat on Yom Kippur?
Torah says so.
What does the Torah say? V'inisan. Afflict yourself. If you ask most people, why don't you eat? It's because the Torah says torture yourself. And when you don't eat, you feel tortured. Yeah, I think you'd ask anybody that's what people would say. You feel tortured. You feel afflicted. When I don't eat, I feel afflicted. Most people, they say, if I don't have caffeine, I feel afflicted. So I don't eat in order to be afflicted. No, wrong, sorry, that's not what we're doing. What are we doing? The Rambam, and this is an observation that Reb Schneur Cutler made in the Rambam. I remember a number of years ago, when Yom Kippur came out on Shabbos, we spoke about the epidemic in the times of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter, who apparently made Kiddush on Yom Kippur, even though we don't paskin that way. And Rav Moshe Gruen, the author of the Reach L'Mayadim, mentioned to me that Reb Schneur Cutler was observed a very subtle diuk in the Rambam, beautiful diuk. Ready? Look at number 11. The Rambam in Hilchos Shvisas Asar, resting on the 10th day, says the Rambam, Mitzvah saseh acheres yesh b'yom kippurim v'hi lishbois boi me'achila u'shasiya shenemar ta'anu es nafshoy seichem. You know what the mitzvah is on Yom Kippur? It's not a mitzvah to afflict yourself. It's a mitzvah to rest. It's resting from eating. You hear the beauty of the words? You're resting on Yom Kippur. Rabbi Isai, I know it's a stressful time, but don't worry. In a few days, it's going to be the most relaxing day of the year. Not only do you get to rest from malacha, you don't have to go to work, you also don't have to eat. You don't have to buy food. You don't have to prepare food. You don't have to cook it. You don't have to set it up. You don't have to eat it, and you don't have to deal with the after effects of it. It's so restful. We're resting from eating. You know what a trouble it is to eat? There's so much I want to do every day, but I get bogged down because I have to buy the food, prepare the food, eat the food, and deal with the after effects. It takes time out of my day. I don't have to deal with this on Yom Kippur. Not only do I not have to go to work, I don't even have to eat. And I really feel this way. Can't say I feel this way on Yom Kippur, but on a regular tainus, I always say, in a certain sense, the tainus is the best days of the year. I could accomplish much more on a tainus than any other day. There's just more time in the day until you get tired out. You ever feel that?
No, my wife does all the cooking.
That's a shocker.
I just eat it. I love it.
Why does the Torah say Vanisim though? It's Shvisa.
The only way you're going to rest, the mitzvah is not to afflict, the mitzvah is to rest. The way you come to rest is by afflicting yourself, by not eating. It brings you to a state of resting. Anyone who eats or drinks is mevatel the mitzvah saseh of resting. You know what a pain in the neck it is to brush your teeth? It takes time. It takes an hour to brush your teeth, to get to every tooth, the molars, and help me out here, and the wisdom teeth. I don't have any. The what? The bicus? Reb Chaim, help us out over here. The different kinds of teeth, right? All 32 teeth. It's a pain in the neck. And then to floss, that you do a few times a day. And then mouthwash. But that's 3 hours in the morning of oral hygiene. And then smearing yourself with creams. You know what a pain in the neck it is to smear yourself with creams? And some people, they use hairspray. Enough of that. You're not bogged down by any of this nonsense. Oral hygiene. Creams. It's a pain in the neck to put on those shoes. No shoes, no food, no drink, nothing. No physical restraints. It's vacation. Yom Kippur is the most relaxed day of the year. It's relaxing. Are you looking forward to it now? It's a day of absolute shvisa. By the way, the Rambam says the same thing. It's such a pain in the neck to take a shower. First you have to get your rubber duck. You have to get your slippers. We'll leave it there, right? But there are hachanas that people make. Goggles, the tube, people. It's a pain in the neck to bathe. You don't have to do all these things on Yom Kippur. You don't have to eat. You don't have to take a shower. You don't have to bathe. No hygiene necessary. Basic, take that with a grain of salt. And so it's not that there's no mitzvah to afflict per se. The mitzvah is to rest. The Rambam also writes, "Lamadnu b'yashmos she'asar lirchaitz aylasuk kishem she'shavos memlacha kach shavos le'inoi." All the inuyim, it's resting. It's resting. We're not bogged down. We're not bogged down. So listen to this. The combination of Yom Kippur and Shabbos is explained as follows. This is the explanation of Rav Shneir Kotler. This is the explanation of the Rav Hutner and the Pachad Yitzchak. And that is, normally Shabbos is only rest from Malacha. Comes Yom Kippur, and Yom Kippur says, this Shabbos is complete rest. This Shabbos will say rest also from food and from drink and from anointing and from marital responsibility. It's just pure vacation. The vacation you always wanted to take and never were able to. You thought vacation is, you don't know what vacation is. Vacation. You book a ticket. How's that vacation? Well, where are you going? First you come to the airport. They're examining your papers. You don't have the right papers. You do have the right papers. Then you get there. The flight is delayed for who knows how long. But they already locked the chains. You can't even go out. You have nowhere to go. And then you get on the plane, and the plane is stuck there on the runway for 3 hours. You already need a vacation. You didn't even get to your destination. You need therapy. You know what vacation is? You don't have to be busy with this nonsense called eating and drinking and all the physical restraints that we have in our life. So it's not two separate kedushas. Yom Kippur lends its definition to Shabbos to guide Shabbos to say you're resting not only from malacha but from all physical activity. That's the lamdas of the Or Sameach. Therefore, if you're going to eat, do you make kiddush? You don't make kiddush. What do you mean? But doesn't Shabbos say to make kiddush? No, actually Shabbos says, you know what Shabbos says this week? Don't eat. Shabbos says don't eat. You understand that? Shabbos says don't eat. Shabbos says don't wash. Shabbos says you have no physical responsibility. Now, I want to share with you an amazing question. Because I found in Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein's Sefer, Chashukei Chemed, on Masechta Rosh Hashanah, he was asked a question about a guy, you know the guy, he always makes early Shabbos. Shabbos could be 4 p.m., he makes Shabbos 2:45. I don't understand the whole thing of early Shabbos, but okay. He made it this Shabbos. And now that he made early Shabbos, now he didn't accept Yom Kippur, he made early Shabbos. Should he make Kiddush and have the Suda? Now let me tell a little trivia question. What if a guy makes an early Shabbos, says, "Ach and vai, I forgot to put on tefillin today." You ever hear such a question? The guy, well, if he wouldn't have accepted Shabbos, he could have put on tefillin, but he accepted Shabbos. What do? Early Shabbos is not Shabbos, it's a neder. You're mater neder. You're mater neder. So they asked Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein, this guy made an early Shabbos, he didn't accept Yom Kippur, what should he do? What should he do? He accepted a Yom Kippur 40 minutes, he accepted Shabbos 40 minutes early, but he didn't accept Yom Kippur. And now, he said, Oy vay, I made an early Shabbos, I forgot to eat the Sudas HaMafsekes. So Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein said, you know what? According to the Magen Avraham and the other Achar in the Mishnah Berurah, there's no Kiddush. but I'm not happy with what he did, because Rabbi Kiva Eger would say if he's going to eat the Sudas HaMafsekes, he has to make Kiddush. Yeah? Rabbi Kiva Eger would say he has to make Kiddush. So therefore, even though he wants to eat the Sudas HaMafsekes, which he should be able to, because he was Makabel Shabbos but not Yom Kippur, but he shouldn't put himself in this situation, because Rabbi Kiva Eger would say he has to make Kiddush. Therefore, says Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein, he should be Mater Neder.
Can you separate?
And I would disagree with him.
Can you separate the two?
1 second.
How could you?
I would disagree. I would say a better reason why he has to be Mater Neder. He doesn't. Not only does he have to be Mater Neder because Rabbi Kiva Eger would say he has to make Kiddush, I would say he has to be Mater Neder because he's not allowed to eat. So what do you mean? He only accepted Kedusha Shabbos. He didn't accept Kedusha Yom Kippur. No. This Shabbos says you can't eat. Shabbos this week says you can't eat. It's a different kind of Kedusha Shabbos. That's how most Achrayim learn. Unless you argue and you say, but that's only if you accept both of them simultaneously, then Yom Kippur would guide the Shabbos. But what if I only accept Shabbos? No. What? Accepting Shabbos means accepting this Shabbos. This Shabbos is intertwined with Yom Kippur. So I would say it's a problem to accept Shabbos early unless you just want to fast. You can make an early Shabbos, but I would say not only are you getting into issues of making Kiddush, you also get into issues of extending the fast. Okay.
It's like when a woman lights candles for Shabbos, so she can make it some kind of a
Yeah, she can make it tonight.
That I'm still going to go in the car
No,
with my husband.
no, that's not no. She's not Makabel Shabbos.
So why is she lighting candles?
Because when Shabbos comes, the candles need to be lit. She's not Makabel Shabbos. That's not a Tanai in the Kabbalah Shabbos. She's Masna, she's not Makabel Shabbos. Okay, now. Comes the Noyam Begadim, and he's troubled. You know, the Torah says by Yom Kippur that comes out on Shabbos. Shabbos Shabbosoin hu lachem. V'inisem es nafsho yisechem. Afflict your souls. B'tisha lachodesh ba'erev. On the 9th. Me'erev ad erev. From the evening to the evening. Tishbesu Shabbatchem. You should rest your Shabbos. The first thing is, and I think you'll know the answer by now, would you call this week Shabbos Shabbosoin? Is it a double Shabbos? And what does it mean you should afflict yourself on the 9th? We don't afflict ourselves on the 9th, we afflict ourselves on the 10th. So everybody knows what the Gemara says. Anyone who eats on the 9th, it's like he fasts on the 9th and the 10th. But the Noam Megadim understands as follows. You know what we need to work toward? Could you understand the following concept? Did you ever get physical pleasure from a spiritual delight? Did you ever enjoy a piece of Torah so much that it physically made you feel good? Did that ever happen to you? Did you ever daven so well that it literally gave you physical satisfaction? Could you relate to such a concept? Or, what in the world are you talking about? You know, the Archaim HaKadosh says on the pasuk in Tehillim, look at number 18. Lasos ritzoincha lekai chafatzti. To do your will, Hashem, I desire. V'sayrascha b'soichmei. Your Torah is in my intestines. That there's a madrega, that if a person is connected with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the heart, meaning the physical heart, has a desire to do what the neshama wants, has a taiva to do what the neshama wants, and you physically do not desire something that's antithetical to the Torah. Did you ever have a taiva to daven? Not, you know what? I really think the right thing to do is to daven. Did you ever have a taiva to daven? Like food or learn? No, I physically want to learn or to do a mitzvah. Did that ever happen to you? Could you relate to such an idea? I saw quoted, this is a very rare sefer. It's so rare it's not even on Eitzar HaChachma. It's on HebrewBooks.org. Sefer HaMa'amorim. These are Ma'amorim of the Rebbe Rashab, Reb Shalom Bar. He tells the story of the Ma'or Einayim. The Ma'or Einayim was a heavy man. He was a Baal Basar. It's a nice way of saying he was a big guy. And usually people his size, it meant he ate a lot. But he didn't eat a lot. He became big answering Amen Yehi Shmei Rabbah. You say, what in the world are you talking about? No. His spiritual avodah gave him physical sensation. The Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh says, this is what David HaMelech Mispalel, I want to do your will so badly that the Torah I learn is literally in my intestines. It gives me physical satisfaction. Could you understand such a thing? Do you ever see people say, what's this guy running on? Like, what, huh? How's he operating? Like, doesn't he need to do human things? Like, what's fueling him? Could you relate to a concept that a person could be physically fueled by ruchnias? Like, hey, doesn't this guy need to sleep or eat or like partake of some of the joy of this world? Otherwise, like, what's this guy out? What's he taking? You know, what's he on? What's this guy on? Can you relate to an idea that a person could enjoy spiritual service of Hashem where it gives him physical energy? So doesn't sound like it's resonating. Could you relate to such an idea? Could you hear that such a thing is possible? Could you hear that sometimes, like, you ever look at food like this, like, and the food is like, ugh, like, who wants that? Like, sometimes they have these extravagant kiddushim where they paid, give the guy parnasa, but like, this food item is laden with so much sugar, it's just disgusting. Like, what are they eating? Like, why do they want that? Wouldn't they rather like a geshmak kashir? Wouldn't they enjoy that more? The Ohr HaChaim HaKadosh says that David HaMelech was on the Madrega, that spiritual avodah gave him physical satisfaction. Ki'ilu oichel umemale b'nei me'av mimazayin tivi. When he davened to Hashem, when he learned, when he did chesed, it gave him, he's beaming. It looks like he just ran. That's how he looks healthy from it. It promotes well-being. Says the Noam Megadim that preparation for Yom Kippur is to elevate a person where they have taiva for ruchnias. Do you have taiva for ruchnias? Do you desire it? Where you desire ruchnias and say, like, what? Imagine if somebody fed you dog food. What's for supper tonight? Cat food. Huh? No. I want good food. I want a piece of steak. You wouldn't go for a low currency, where a person develops a taiva for getting, what do you get? What puts you in a good mood? Where do you get your kicks from? Where do you get your perks from? To have a taiva for ruchnias. The pasuk is saying, SHABBOS lachem. You know what you should do? On the 9th, when you could eat, you should look at food as if food is an affliction. To the point where when you're fasting on Yom Kippur, that's a tainug. It's an enjoyment. It's an enjoyment that you could serve Hashem by not eating and singing to Hashem and Shul the whole day. It's enjoyable. You don't even want it. You don't even want to eat. Like, it's Neila is over, like, let's keep this thing going. Let's do another day of this. The Noam Megadim says, you know what Chazal mean? That if Klal Yisrael would keep 2 Shabbosos, we would be redeemed immediately, it's talking about this year, when Shabbos comes out on Yom Kippur. So what do? Shabbos says eat, Yom Kippur says don't eat. Our responsibility on Yom Kippur is to see if we can, just a little bit, develop a desire for ruchnias and an apathy toward the physical, that we get physical pleasure from spirituality, that you say, hey, I want to have an Oinig Shabbos this week. Yeah, you know what your Oinig Shabbos is? Not eating. Could you even relate to such a thing? If Klal Yisrael would reach the Madrega that they get physical pleasure on a Shabbos that comes out on Yom Kippur, where for Klal Yisrael it becomes an oineg not to have to partake of the physical and have the great opportunity to indulge in the spiritual delight of being and basking in the presence of Hashem. Ilmole mishamrim Yisrael shtei shabbosos. The shtei shabbosos are Shabbos Yom HaKippurim. And I would say the reason why it's called Shabbos Shabbosoin, one Shabbos is we rest from work, and one Shabbos is we rest from food. If you could even a little bit have a taiva for ruchnias, have a taiva. I wish I could daven a Shemona Esrei where I could feel the presence of Hashem. I wish I could learn a sugya and have a machlokes, the Shagas Aryeh, and the Noid Yehuda, and get to the bottom of it. If you could have a taiva for ruchnias, that is what Chazal say, that if Klal Yisrael would observe two Shabbosos, namely Shabbos Yom HaKippurim, miyad nigolim. And obviously that's something that we're somewhat distant from. Most people are not getting fat answering Amen Yehishmei Rabbah. They're getting fat for other reasons. The Kloisenberger Rebbe also quotes this Noya Megadim in the Shafach Chaim. He says some Jews have a minhag, and I'm not suggesting you adopt this. They set the table this year, Friday night. They put challah on the table. They put yayin on the table, as if to say they would really be mekadesh this day, and they would have a suda. But what could you do? We're not allowed to eat. But they're besimcha gedoyla. They don't walk around morose. They don't walk around. I have a question. When you go out to an Oinig Shabbos Friday night, you're in a good mood. You had a meal. You're sitting there. You're sitting with your friends. They have some beer. They have some beef jerky. I don't know why anybody eats that stuff. I don't know why anybody eats any of that stuff. How do you eat anything after the meal? But okay, people like it. And you're saying you're in a happy mood. You're delighting in physical pleasure. Well, this Friday night, there is Oineg Shabbos. Actually, did you know the mitzvah of Oineg Shabbos we read about on Yom Kippur? Did you know the mitzvah of Oineg Shabbos is in the Navi Yeshaya describing Yom Kippur? Say, Yom Kippur, it's the worst day of the year. No, it's the happiest day of the year. It was the happiest day of the year. Yeah, but there's no Oineg Shabbos. Avada, there's Oineg Shabbos. You have a mitzvah, midivrei neviim, to have Oineg Shabbos. What's the Oineg Shabbos? The Oineg Shabbos is I don't have to be bothered cooking, preparing. I don't have to bother eating. I get to sit in shul and sing and praise and thank the Creator of the universe. Have oineg from that. Have physical enjoyment from that. It should give you pleasure. Don't have anxiety. Right now people are very anxious. They're thinking about, how am I going to get through the day? Well, I'm going to pop 7 Advils before the fast, 60 Tylenols. I'm going to take 50 slow-release capsules. And they're sitting there in shul, what's going on inside their body, I don't want to know. How many different things are being released throughout the day? Hydration, nutrition, caffeine, ibuprofen, acetaminophen, and other wonderful things. Like the whole day, they're like buzzing, zzz, and they don't even have their phones on them. They're literally buzzing because they're so worried. So are they resting? Relax, nothing's going to happen to you. Enjoy the day. Enjoy Yom HaKippurim. It's vacation. It's Shabbos Shabbosain. It's the ultimate rest. It's your best day of vacation of the whole year. Ilmole Shamru Yisrael Shtei Shabbosais. If you could have one day in your life where you really view it as a rest from all the physical things that hold you back. You know how many, your mind is bogged down. Okay, I need to eat this, I have to have my caffeine, and I have to have my this, and my shake, and my this. Rula, let go. Have a real vacation. If you do that, El Mole Meshamin Yisrael Shtei Shabbosan Kilchasan Miyad Negalim. We should be Zoicha. Hashem should give us Siyata D'Shmaya. First, to even begin to understand the concept of enjoying physical pleasure, spiritual pleasure physically. To understand that concept, to be able to relate to that concept, and to have an inkling of experiencing that idea where you get physical delight from a spiritual pleasure. Rabbi Say, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu bless all of us with the great gift of Tshuva Shalema on this great day of Shabbos Shabbosain. I wish you all a Gemara Chasima Toiva, Aguka Ben Shiur, and we'll see you Parshas Noach, if not sooner. Kol Tov.
What are you talking to for Shalom Zoch?
What? What do you do with the Shalom Zoch?